Hello and welcome to the Kubernetes Talk series. Today in this series we will be talking about the architecture of Kubernetes and its component and how it works. As we talked previously, the Kubernetes is an orchestration tool and forms a cluster of VMs and encapsulate multiple containers in a single entity. So as shown in the diagram, Kubernetes follow the concept of master and worker nodes. Every VMs which you can see as denoted as a worker nodes and are connected with the one master node. So let's discuss the workflow of the cluster. When the admin executes any command, it first goes to the API server, and API server is responsible for communicating with other components within the cluster. Whatever communication that has to be done, it will be done through the API server. If the API server goes down, then the whole cluster will not be able to communicate with each other. Then the request is forwarded to the control manager. Whatever changes that has to be made, it will be done by the control manager. So how the control manager will update the changes? Whenever any changes come, it will go first check in the etcd configuration file and check whatever changes has to be done, and it will update in the etcd configuration file. If the changes has been done successfully, then it will update in the configuration. Otherwise, it will not update in the etcd configuration file. Now, what is etcd? etcd stores the configuration information which can be used by the node within the cluster. It is consistent and highly available and stores the data in the key value format, which is used by the Kubernetes as a backing store for all the cluster data, and it stores all the data used to manage the cluster. Next component comes is scheduler. Scheduler is responsible for carrying out the instruction specified by the control manager. It is responsible for triggering the changes on particular cluster and also responsible for tracking the utilization of the workload on the cluster and then placing the workload on the node where the resources are available and are ready to take the workload. Next component is Kubelet. It acts as the agent. It will receive the change request from the scheduler, and whatever the changes that has to be assigned, the kubelet will make sure that it should be applied correctly and give the success and failure feedback. If the kubelet is not working, the whole cluster will not able to control the workload. Next component is our Kube-Proxy. It is a network proxy which runs on each node in the cluster. It maintains the network rules on nodes. These rules allow network communication on the cluster from network session inside or outside the cluster. That's it for this video. In the upcoming video, we will be discussing each component in somewhat detail.